Hi there, and welcome to the Sheroes Collective podcast. I'm your host, Renee Sparks, and this is Series 3, Women Authors. With us today, we have a phenomenal Shero. Our Shero for today is Sumi Singh, and she is an incredibly well-published, well-recognized author. She is a romance author, so very, very exciting. Last week, we had a woman that had written about her personal experiences through like an uplifting or inspiring book. So this is a different take. I'm very excited. Sumi is the mother of 2 adult daughters. She's a wife. She's a marathon runner. She works full-time as a personal assistant in a legal government organization or department. And her first novel, Sydney's Boxer, was self-published in 2022. She's entered the Strelitzia competition for unpublished authors for the Romance Organization of South Africa and was placed second runner-up for the same novel that we just spoke about. And she will be publishing her second novel during this year. So how exciting is that? So welcome, Sumi, and sorry for the tongue twist on the surname and the name. I think it's a lot of S's today. How are you?
I'm well, and you? Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's an absolute pleasure. So I was thinking, in preparation for this discussion, I was thinking, what made you settle on romance novels? What kind of drew you to that, given that there are so many other avenues?
You know, I love reading, and I think as an author, you always start there, is you have to have a love for reading. And while the romance genre is, I think it started in my teenage years. My sister, she used to read Mills and Boons. So I think it was one of those, where I didn't have anything to do, or I'd finished reading my books and I came across one of her Mills and Boons, and then I took the book and I started reading it. And I was so engrossed in this romance book and I couldn't put it down. And I just fell in love with the characters. I just fell in love with the love stories. And then for me, it was all just about the emotional entanglements, between a man and a woman and the relationships and the love story that it boiled down to at the end of the day. And I said to myself, this is really what I want to do. I want to one day, write a romance novel. And I want to be able to write about relationships. And I think I enjoyed mostly is the happily ever after, them coming together, them finding love, and them fighting for each other. So I'm a real romantic, and I'm still like that today. And so that is why I've always chosen the romance genre.
Oh, that's amazing. So when exactly can you remember when exactly you told yourself you're going to be writing a book? How many years ago was that? Or which age group can you pinpoint that?
That started many years ago. I think I was still quite young. I think I was still about about 6 or 7 when I told myself I wanted to become an author because I loved reading. I really did. I would always just be curled up with a book. My parents gave me a fairy tale book, from a young age. I would read all the fairy tales. And from there, I would just go to the library. I would go and get books for myself. I would take 3 to 4 books out. I would read those books from cover to cover. And I just had that natural inclination towards reading. And I just said to myself one day, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be able to tell stories. I want to be able to tell a story so much that readers can become engrossed by my writing. And that was at that young age of saying that. And I had no know-how of how I was going to do it, but I just knew this was what I really wanted to do.
That's fantastic. So manifesting from such a young age. But I think what I'm hearing you say is that you had the support structure in terms of access to books, and then obviously the structure that helped you nurture that love of reading. So that's fantastic. So you can actually see how within our communities how important those NGOs are that speak to literacy and that try to get families to bring back that culture, of reading together or storytelling. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what I do without the local library. having the local library in my area and just going there. Even today, I mean, I still go to the Goodwood Library. I love browsing in libraries. I love going to bookstores. There's nothing like it, really. And I think we're missing that so much in letting our children know that, there's so much that you need to learn from books out there.
No, absolutely. It's a nice escape, but it's also learning and expanding your knowledge about whatever it is that kind of tickles your fancy. In your case, obviously, the romance aspect and the happily ever afters. So when it came to this book that you've just published in 2022, how long did that process take you? Like, was it years of kind of writing and working through it, or was the process kind of swift in your experience?
Writing the book actually took a long time. For me, it was, I joined the Romance Organization of South Africa, and I joined them in 2016. And I think I found myself in a situation where I wanted to learn a lot about writing. So I learned and I went through a lot of, sessions, and you get to this point where you feel like, oh, I need to learn so much and I need to do so much research and all of that. And then it becomes like a point where you're just like looking for excuses and you're not really writing. So eventually I got down to the point where one of the authors that was there, romance author, said to me at one of the retreats, she actually said to me, you keep on coming to these retreats, but when are you going to write your novel? And I said, I don't know when I'm going to do it. But it finally sunk in that I was making excuses and that I need to really sit down and write this novel. And that's when I did. I decided I'm going to write the novel. And I decided to write the novel. And that's when the competition came about for the Strelitzia in 2018. So I'd written 3 chapters at that point. And I said, okay, I'm going to enter the competition. At that point, I'd never entered any kind of competition. And I just said, okay, I'm going to enter it. I entered the competition and I forgot about it and I just left it there. And during that time, I was writing my novel and I think I got halfway through. And then it was announced that I was one of the candidates that was selected. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize that I would even be selected because this is my first novel. And they said they wanted a finished novel in 6 months' time. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? I've got 6 months to finish this novel.
Yeah.
And then I was working with a mentor at that time. And we got the novel finished and I submitted it. And that novel, I was selected as the second runner-up for the book. And so it took me a long time to actually publish the book as well. Because I still felt that there was more that I needed to do to make Sydney's Boxer better. But in actual fact, there wasn't. Really, I think when it comes to writing, one has a lot of self-doubt. One, especially in fiction writing, I'm not sure if that is the case in nonfiction, but in fiction writing, one has a lot of self-doubt in your capabilities. So for me, I felt like, maybe my work wasn't up to standard and maybe I needed to do more editing on it, or maybe I needed to do much more things on it. But like I said, I didn't need to do a lot more on it. So that's what held me back. Then eventually in 2022, I decided I was going to self-publish the book. And that process went quite swiftly. Because when we talk about self-publishing, it means I do all the work. There is no publishing house that is going to do everything for me. It means that I've got to get somebody to do the book cover. I've got to get somebody to do the formatting. Somebody has to do proofreading, editing, everything. And then I've got to decide whether the platform I want to put it on. Is it Amazon? Is it Apple Books? Is it wherever, Kobo or whatever? I've got to put it on those platforms myself. So it's a lot of work. Whereas, in these other platforms, it's like today, if you've got a publishing deal, they do all the work for you. Yeah. But as a self-publishing author, you've got to do everything. You're not writing the book. You're wearing different hats on all the time. Jeez. So it's really hard to get that book out there. So people don't see it. They just see the finished product, but they don't know what you have to do to get it there.
Yeah. And even so once you self-published, What type of work is there still for you to do in terms of making sure that there's availability of a printed version, or do you have both? Do you have an online version as well as printed? And then do you kind of have to push for a new print run or something like that once you've, yeah.
Look, yeah, I had printed copies made of my book as well. And then on Amazon, you can also do like where you have the ability to do printed copies. If somebody, say perhaps in the USA or wherever from a different country, would like to buy a paperback, then they can buy the printed copy from them as well. But in South Africa, I did the printed copies myself. So whoever wanted printed copies, they can get that from me. So there is that, you know, ability to do that.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you have the power to kind of make sure that your book gets out there, but with that comes a lot of work, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, but probably also a lot of reward. So when it comes to signing of your book and creating those opportunities where people can see you, meet you, you sign them, do you have to do all of that work as well, or have you managed to find someone to assist you?
Yes, I have to do all of that. I have to do my own marketing. I have to be on the social media platforms. I have to be everywhere. I don't have anybody that is going to market me. So it can be, you know, a hard balancing act to get yourself out there. So I think that is really the hardest thing for authors, is to be able to market yourself and to market your books well. Because you can market a new book, but once you now start writing the second book, you really don't have time to continuously market that book all the time. Yeah. So now you're so invested in writing that second book. And I think that's what happened with me. I brought out the first book, and then I got back into the writing cave, and I was busy writing the second book. So now when the second book comes out, then I'm promoting the second book. And so I really don't go and promote the first book too much. Which I should be doing, but I really don't have the time to do it.
No, thank you for your honesty, because I mean, a lot of people are thinking, okay, if I remove a publishing house and I do it on my own, because you hear a lot of people saying, oh, self-publish, why don't you just self-publish? But I think these are the realities, that when someone is thinking about writing their own book, but also then self-publishing, what exactly are they going to be looking at? And was it things that you knew going into it? Like, I mean, you say you're part of the romance, the organization. How did they kind of prepare you for this? Or how did you come to the decision to do this on your own as opposed to finding a publishing house?
Look, the organization is very well equipped in giving you lots of information and preparing you on this, because they have a lot of authors that are either hybrid, where they do self-publishing, or they belong to publication houses as well. And they share the information voluntarily, which I really appreciated. And these well-known romance authors from South Africa who is making a living out of writing their books. So like I say, they always share the information with you, but it still is a learning curve when you go and you publish your first book. And for me, when I did my first book, it was really difficult. Although I knew this information, I still, you know, I had to learn, and I made mistakes. And that's how it is. You make mistakes, and then you say, the second time around, I'm going to get better at it. But even if I don't get better at it, it's fine, you know. It's part of the growing phase of life.
No, that's fantastic. So Sydney's Boxer is about romance, right? And obviously you've just said you've got a love for that. So I don't want you to necessarily give us the entire book, but just to give us a sense of what it is that readers can expect if they want to come and get hold of a copy of this book. What is it that that's going to be enticing them?
Yeah, well, I suppose as the title says, you know, it's got to do with a boxer. And I must say that, you know, boxing wasn't something that I would have wanted to write about, but the idea pulled me in. And that was the most fascinating part about it, is that I was looking for an idea to write on about my first novel, and I didn't know what to write about. And then eventually the idea came to me, and I had to go and research about boxers, and I had to go into a boxing club, and I had to go and train as a boxer, and because I would not be able to give you that story without putting myself in the shoes of a boxer. And so you in that book you get a story of a boxer and a female manager, and you learn about their love story. And for me, it's what I love about fiction writing is that you create characters, and these characters, you get to know them so well. It's like you become their skin and their bones. And you go into the story where I had a summary of how I thought the story was going to pan out. But in the end, they took me their own way, and they showed me this is how we wanted the story to end. So for me, it was such an adventure just to go on the love story and to see how it was going to work out in the end of the day. I had so much fun writing it. And I hope that when readers read it, they also going to enjoy it. And I was told that it's quite steamy as well. So
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. No, that's fantastic. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is trust your instinct. Like you might have an idea, but go with what is actually pulling you. So your intuition and kind of build on that. I love the fact that you bringing authenticity to the story that you're telling. I mean, to go the extra mile, to actually go to participate in this, to get to know people in the space, to get to know and understand the language around it. That really speaks to the depths of what you've kind of had to go through to be able to tell the story. So that's fantastic. Then in your bio, we were going through mother, wife, full-time job. How do you prioritize and set time aside for writing? I mean, you're busy with your second book. Where do you find, I mean, if you think about running, I know it's not just get up and go and run. You have training sessions for that as well. So you're constantly busy. But where do you find the time to say, this is what I'm putting aside for my writing?
Well, I have to structure time for my writing. If I don't make time for my writing, it's never going to get done, unfortunately. I used to be initially, when I started with my writing, I would write every day for an hour, after my run, after supper, I would dedicate an hour and a half just to writing my story. And every single night, that's what I would do. And then over weekends, on a Saturday afternoon, I'd be writing. On a Sunday afternoon, I'd be writing. So it is very important to find time for your writing. I know that everything is important for me, spending time with my family, working and all those things. But at the end of the day, writing is my passion. It's what I feel so alive when I'm doing. And sometimes I'm so in the zone when I'm busy writing. It's like I don't want to come out of it. And I will take myself away on these writing retreats, on these solo writing retreats, where I just don't exercise, I don't do anything, and I'm not with the family. And it will be like the entire day I'm just sitting and I'm writing, and I know exactly that this is what I want to do. And I'm so engrossed in it. And I just feel like I wish I had more time for it. I really wish I had more time to do it. And I know that one day I will be in that space where I will have that dedicated time to focus on my writing. So yeah, one has to put in structured time for it. Otherwise, you will never be able to complete a task like writing a novel. Otherwise, it will just fall by the wayside, actually.
So it's about that discipline and consistency is what I'm also hearing. Which
absolutely.
Do you think that when you run, you have chapters that you're writing in your head, or is your running just this kind of taking you away and you're just focusing on that at the moment? I'm asking because when I've run, it's like I was able to come back and just, you can pour yourself out on a page, but then there's times that it doesn't happen in that way. And so it's not like you can only rely on this thing. So you might find writers that say, oh, what gives me new ideas, is walking at the beach or whatever. Someone like I'm now saying, if I run, I've got this clarity in my thoughts, I can pour down on a page, or I can make voice notes of certain things that I want to remember. Do you have anything like that, or is it just that consistency, that hour every day that you dedicate, and you kind of pour yourself in that way?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that when I'm running, I actually think about writing. No, I always compare running a marathon to writing a novel, because I think when I run a marathon, I always think about it's like it's an impossible task, and I can never see the end of it in sight. And I have this thing where I think, oh wow, it would be amazing to finish a marathon, but I never know how it's going to pan out. And the same way with a novel, I think, wow, I want to do a novel, and I have this, the characters and all of these things, and and all of that. But it's hard work to write a novel. It's hard work, and there's going to be so much challenges along the way. Same too with a marathon. You could get injured, you could have all sorts of things, the weather, all sorts of things, and on the day of the marathon, something could go wrong. So that's exactly how I compare writing a novel to a marathon. But no, definitely, I don't, nothing like that. When I'm running, I'm running. When I'm writing, I'm writing. I need to focus. I truly need to focus on my task at hand. And I think rather, if I'm walking at the beach, or if I'm going somewhere else, then, and if I have a problem, say for instance, with my characters, or if I'm coming to a blockage or something like that, then I'll go take a walk, and then I'll be like in a quiet space, and then maybe that the answer will come to me. But sometimes you shouldn't force yourself to get that answer. It will come to you in your own time. I find that works for me.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I think there are many people who kind of struggle with forcing it, especially in line of a deadline. So that's quite useful for them to kind of go back, find yourself among that storm, but also focus. I like the message that you've given there. Then, as a parting, what tips would you give to anyone that's writing a book, thinking about self-publishing? It doesn't matter what the genre is, but just the writing a novel. What advice would you give?
I would say just start. Just start. Like I said, I gave myself so many excuses about I wasn't ready. I needed to go on courses. I needed to do research. I needed to do all sorts of things. Just start. If you have a desire to start writing a novel, no matter what it is, whether it's a nonfiction book, whether it's a fiction book, whether it's a biography, do it. And the time is now. The time is right now. Start writing, and don't care about whether it's good enough or whether somebody else is going to like it or not. It's good enough for you. It's good enough for you. And sit down and finish it right till the end. You can always fix a draft, but you cannot fix a blank page. So that's my advice to you. Just believe in yourself and do it. And self-publishing is, although it's a lot of work, it's such an achievement. At the end of the day, I look at my book out there and I think, wow, I've done this. I've done this for myself. I said I was going to go out there and I was going to do it. And it was hard work, but I did it. I did it. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it again. So don't allow your doubts and your fears to hold you back. Just go out there and make it happen for yourself, because you're worth it at the end of the day. You are.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I think that is beautiful. I can imagine the 6-year-old you just sitting and going, what? We've done this, So yeah, you can really be proud of your achievement. And I think it's amazing seeing, we can literally see the passion. You are pouring and gushing out about how much you love this. There was one more thing that I wanted to check. Oh, how can we get a copy of Sydney's book? So if anyone's listening to this, how would they be able to access that?
Okay, currently it's only available on Amazon.com. So I will put out the link, and I will provide the link for the ebooks that's available. If you do want published copies of the books, then you can get it from me through my email address. But unfortunately, it's only on Amazon.com if you want the ebooks.
Okay, cool. So no, definitely we will provide at the end of the session, there'll be those links and your email that we could share. And so that people who are listening, or those even that are, actually, I'm going to probably have to read that out because this will be both audio and audiovisual. But either way, on any of the social media platforms, you'd be able to get hold of Sumi's details so that you know how to order. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for allowing us to get to know you a little bit more. I must say, I see you in a different lens. The amount of excitement around this book and even the next one, you're actually making me excited to hear what that next one's going to be all about. I suppose a romance novel again, another love story.
Yes. Look, it's a series from Sydney's Boxer, so it's a follow-up on the same world in the same boxing club. So there's actually 2 more books that's coming out. So, you know, if you read the first book, then obviously you'd want to read the second book. So hang in there.
Okay, there you have it. So you've got your little hook there. We were told Sydney's Boxer is the epic love story, apparently very steamy, and there's more coming. So we excited to get hold of that. Thank you so much for your time, Sumi. It was wonderful meeting you, and I really hope that we get to see your journey as it unfolds. Fantastic.
You're welcome. And thank you so much, Renee.